So we have Behnam Ben Taleblu, who's a research fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Thank you so much for joining us early this morning. Let's start with the fact that timing with Mr. Mattis has changed. He was originally supposed to leave, and now December 31st is going to be his official last day. Is that just really implying the tension that's going on within the White House between the president and the defense secretary? Sorry.
Good morning. Great to be with you. I think definitely there's some pretty bad optics here, but if the administration wants a more orderly transition, I think this is not the way to go about doing it. I think having a few more months for Mattis to backlog some of the other outstanding issues, whether it's respect to pulling the troops out of Syria or making sure that the wind down in Afghanistan is orderly and making sure that the budgetary needs of the Pentagon are met for the next year, may have been the better option here. But again, I think that there's a lot of different things going on, and this is just one issue among many between the president and the leaving Secretary of Defense.
What about his replacement, Patrick Shanahan, and the fact that, you know, he has some experience, well, some experience. He's been 3 decades at Boeing, which is a top defense contractor. Yes, he's got some Ivy League schools, you know, a familiar face within Washington. What are your thoughts about him replacing Mattis?
Well, he definitely served with a high degree of competence for the past 2 years, and it's important to note that at Boeing he had a strong missile defense background, and he'll probably bring that to the Pentagon, to the top position at the Pentagon. But it also remains to be seen how long the administration wants an acting Secretary of Defense versus how long will it take for them to put forth a nominee, and will that nominee be palatable, and of what professional persuasion will they come from, the civilian world or the military world?
Yeah, good point to just point out that it was acting. If we're going to talk now about foreign policy, you brought up pulling out of the troops coming out of Afghanistan and Syria. I want to focus first on Syria. So you have the United States that wants to maintain this nuclear deal with Iran and then maybe move that deal beyond to focus on the region. So when you're pulling out of Syria, how does that affect the United States' aim?
Well, that's actually an excellent question, because the U.S. withdrew from the nuclear deal in May and is looking to increase the pressure on the Islamic Republic to get a much wider deal, a deal that's not just nuclear, but about the region. But by removing troops from Syria and, again, winding down in Afghanistan, you're creating 2 vacuums on Iran's side, and you actually have less leverage rather than more leverage to get what you want. So as opposed to going big for big, this is going to go small for big, and it puts the administration in a tough spot.
What about Afghanistan? The costs are, what, $40 billion a year. Possibly it's time for Washington to rebalance the portfolio and focus more on these larger hegemonies like China and Russia. Do you think that that's what's happening right now? Do you think it's a smart move to be pulling out of Afghanistan?
I don't particularly think it's a smart move to pull it out of Afghanistan now. I think it's important for us to right-size our expectations about what the U.S. can do in the Afghan theater. I think it's important to continue supporting the central government in Kabul. But when you talked about pivoting to make sure that we can fight Russia, China, North Korea, other larger adversaries, this is something that I think Jim Mattis actually did bring to the table. But he did so by making sure the concerns of our regional allies in each theater of conflict, whether it's the Indo-Pacific theater or Europe, are actually met. So I think it's possible to walk and chew gum at the same time here. It doesn't need to be one or the other.
I wish we had more time to chat, because I know that you have a lot of insight on this and some great points. But unfortunately, we have to leave it there. Thank you very much for joining us, Behnam.
My pleasure. Merry Christmas to you both.
Thank you.